Hi gang, this is John Newton, aka Snap-on John 100, and I'm coming to you live from my yurt. Unfortunately, I'm just using mine for storage right now, but anyway, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about fires and practicing making fires. The thing that separates the men from the boys in fire making, especially with primitive methods, isn't so much getting the ember as it is in blowing the ember into flames in a bird's nest, a viable bird's nest. And there's been so many times in my past history where I'll have an ember and it goes out before the bird's nest is dried enough to work. Made another ember, same thing, and it really behooves all of us to practice making fires and using the primitive methods. The easiest way to do that is with a flint and steel, because pretty much anybody can master that in about 5 minutes. And but it does give you a starting point to have to an ember, so that you have to blow that ember into flames in your bird's nest. And once you get good at finding materials and making bird's nests and getting fires that way, your confidence will soar. That's the great part about that is, from that point on, starting a fire when you need to is cake, because that's the most basic, fundamental part and hard part of starting a fire. So if you use any other method, a ferro rod, matches, lighters, any of that stuff, if you're really good at getting bird's nests to burst into flames, or tinder bundles, whatever you'd like to call them, you'll be very successful, and you'll have the self-confidence in the woods that's just a great feeling, that you don't have to worry about, oh, what happens if this or that, because you can always start a fire. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the materials. Most people already know about a lot of different tinders, so I'm not going to go through all the different kinds really, but because I've got videos on that. But here's one in particular that just works great, and that is birch bark. Wet or dry, this works because it's got oils in it. I think it's called betulin oil, and it burns like crazy. Fluff it up, it takes a spark from a ferro rod. It just is a great source of tinder. And this is river birch. There's all different kinds. There's white birch, there's yellow birch, silver birch. River birch is one of my favorites. It's got like it exfoliates large quantities, and it's also located down where I am. Not so much where I live, but it's around. That's why this is a plastic bag. I actually got this from a river birch that was in front of where I parked my car when I had my foot surgery, or my ankle surgery, at Dr. Foster's in his parking lot. Excuse me, he had some river birch just they lined the roadway. So I got some. Anytime I find river birch, if it's convenient, I get some of the bark, because it doesn't hurt the bark. It exfoliates naturally. I stuck this in here. This is wood shavings from a packing material. I don't throw this away. You can use it for a bird's nest. It's probably not as good as some stuff, but it works. And around where I live, sagegrass seems to work the best for me. I might keep some in my haversack. But I just make the bird's nest out of this, and typically what I'll do is I'll put some the shaved outer bark of cedar. The shaved outer bark of eastern red cedar grows all around here, so I'll shave some of that and put it in there to put my ember on, and that's what I like to call as a coal extender. It quickly lights and smolders also, and just makes that coal a lot bigger, and the bigger it is, the hotter it gets. And that's the key to it, is when you're getting that little cherry in the center of your bird's nest, you want to kind of cup it and keep some of you don't want a lot of oxygen getting to it because you don't want it to try to burn up real fast. What you want it to do is smolder and grow. And so if you limit the oxygen and blow on it, you can get the thing to just smolder and get red and grow, but not try to burn itself out. And then once it's big enough, then you blow harder, and that's when you start getting smoke pouring off of it. What that smoke is you're driving all the moisture out of your bird's nest material. So the smokier it is, the wetter the bird's nest was. But that just shows you how a lot of times you think it's dry as a bone and it will smoke like no tomorrow. And that just shows that appeared dry, but it was really had a lot of moisture in it. But I just thought I'd throw that out to you because if you want to have self-confidence in the woods, one of the main things to give you peace of mind and self-confidence and a great feeling of accomplishment is knowing how to light a fire from primitive methods. And I don't mean just bow and drill or anything like that. I'm talking about a flint and steel or magnifying lens, anything where you create an ember and you put that into a bird's nest or a tinder nest that you make, and then blow that into a flame to start your fire. And using a flint and steel is a great way to practice that and just get really good at getting the correct tinder, because that separates the men from the boys out in the real world, is being able to look around and finding viable tinder to get that small ember going. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little chat, and until we meet again, God bless.